Hey everyone, welcome back to the InSyte Podcast. I'm your host Seth, the CMO at Site, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Mike, the CEO at Site. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that many of you have been asking about, the David and Goliath battle e-commerce stores face on a day-to-day basis. How can a small e-commerce store compete with the giants that have massive advertising budgets?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Sam.
Thanks for joining me today, Mikey.
Thank you for having us, as usual.
So how can a small guy compete against the giants?
So I think the one place, I wouldn't say the one and only, but potentially the one and only place a small guy can take on the giants is in digital. Digital is made for the great stories of these digital Davids versus big Goliaths. And I know we're going to be talking through like a bunch of different tactics and that type of stuff. And almost always we speak to guys that aren't the incumbents, that aren't the biggest fish in the industry. And the beautiful part about digital is one can still compete with the big guys. It's not about budget; it's about allocating budget correctly. So I'll start, and we can just kind of talk through this. But I'll start with the concept, and then we'll go through the tactical parts, how to implement the concept. And the concept is when you're fighting against guys with seemingly endless budgets, you can't afford to educate consumers. One should pretty much concentrate all your funds on capturing that final user once they're ready to purchase. So, an example, let's say you sell tennis rackets. You should spend zero of your money on Google on the keywords tennis rackets for kids, tennis rackets for adults, anything like that. What you want to do is you want to go right to the bottom of the funnel and let someone else educate people on what's the right tennis racket for them. And when it comes time for that person to say that I want a Wilson, shouldn't have chosen tennis rackets, I don't know tennis rackets well, but I want a Wilson A3642, that's the time to compete. That's the place to spend all your budget because that's where it's going to translate into revenue. So what you want to do in a nutshell is spend no to as little money as much, almost zero to, if anything, a tiny bit of money on awareness creation or education, and pretty much all of your budget on demand capturing. That's kind of the goal. That's kind of the route to success.
Okay, so no information or keywords, or from a Google
Yeah.
perspective, you want no information or keywords, only transactional, only with the intention to buy this racket, or even if they are doing a little bit of information on this very specific, even maybe not, don't even go for that information for that. Simply
Zero.
go also with the terms buy, for sale, near me, shop online.
Correct. Correct. The beauty of Google is that Google, you can often understand people's intent quite clearly from the search term they're searching for. So Google's probably the easier of all platforms to run with this tactic. Social, and I'll include Google there in a little bit. I think people negate the power of audiences in Google too often. But all socials, Facebook, Insta, TikTok, and I'm going to include Google in there. What you want to do is live in your hottest of hot audiences. So even if you don't live in your cart abandonment and your checkout abandonment audiences in social, you at least live in guys that have engaged with you, that know your brand, that have shown some propensity to buy rather than cold off the street guys. So it's really about living in your hottest audiences and your hottest keywords.
Yeah. And then optimizing for those, even in the demographics there. Like if you know for a fact that 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds are not buying your tennis racket, for example, take them out. I see many
Yeah.
accounts when I jump in, many people don't actually take advantage of the audience exclusion there, which it doesn't make sense to me. It's like if I'm selling solar, for example, as a service or selling solar as a product, I'm not going to speak to an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old that's going to sign the contract. I'm going to speak to the guys that are in their 40s, in their 30s,
Yeah.
homeowners.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Exactly. And I think just maybe some like three bits of tactical um, roadmaps or strategies that one can use. So two for Google and one for social. And with social, I include Facebook, Insta, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you go, because they kind of work the same way. But on the Google side, you have the beauty of shopping ads. So in the old days of search ads, yes, it was about quality score. Yes, it was about budget. But in shopping ads, it almost leveled the playing field in the sense that it's not just one result that people see. They're going to see a range of results, and it's about then competing with the big guys for the right terms for those results. And again, making sure that your shopping ads appear for the right search terms is a lot about feed optimization more than anything else. And I think most of one's wins, if you're going to spend all your budget somewhere as an e-commerce store against big guys, it probably should be shopping ads, because just the nature of the platform is made for a great return. People can see the product before they're clicking on it. People can see the price before they're clicking on it. So you're almost getting pre-vetted traffic before, as opposed to other channels where you actually have to get traffic which has a potential that doesn't like your price, doesn't like your product. Shopping, you're getting like the perfect person to your site, and therefore your conversion rate should be good. The second tactic I would say is within Google, live in your audiences. So you can either use like affinity audiences from Google, or you can use past like web audiences. So to go after search terms that if the audience fulfills a certain requirement. So if they've come to your website before and they haven't purchased, I would definitely go after those people for search terms. Like that's a great way to compete against big guys, using your audiences as opposed to going after cold traffic. And the third thing I would say in social is, let's say, zero and cold, almost using Google as your source to bring people into the site, and social as your conversion source. So not spending any money on social to bring cold traffic in for the goal to convert that, but spending all your money on social to bring in warm traffic that's already come through Google direct organic channels, and using social purely as a conversion tool, which will mean you'll spend a little money on social, but your bang for buck will be tremendous.
Yeah, essentially, like your just in summary for your social, it's your remarketing campaign. Essentially, it's like they've seen you on Google, that's what triggered that audience, and now they're seeing you on socials, and now you're more relevant to them. Yeah. So besides the paid platforms, Mikey, your socials, your Google, what are other things that e-commerce owners have the control of? What could they be doing on their website that's going to make a massive difference in conversion, so they can compete against the big guys? What's stuff that they have at their disposal? What can they do?
Yeah. So I think one thing I've heard once, which is quite cool, is that whoever can afford to spend the most on a customer wins. Now, that doesn't actually mean whoever has the most money wins, but whoever has the best conversion flow wins. So, for example, if it only costs you R1 to convert a customer because you're going after the right clicks and your user journey is perfect on your website, where your competitors cost them R20 to convert a customer, you have a massive advantage because you've figured out everything post-click, which they haven't. And therefore, you can afford to spend more per customer, again, not because you have more money, but because your return is that much better. So I think if you're getting traffic already, a substantial amount of traffic, there are so many wins to be had on living in conversion optimization and actually trying to spend as much time as you can trying to fix the whole post-click experience rather than just trying to generate more traffic. I think in terms of like a percentage, e-commerce stores, probably like less than 1% spend any time on the user journey post-click. So I think that's an important part. And then the organic side is an interesting side. Like when organic side, I'm talking about like SEO, the SEO side. Some guys try and go that route because it's a free route, but obviously it's a time-intensive route. There's a lot of wins that could be had there, but as we know, it's not a quick route to success.
Absolutely. And then just on organic socials and getting those right, obviously this is a highly contested subject that we like to talk about quite a lot, is the right and the wrong way of doing organic content. I guess it really is, I'm kind of answering my own question here, is that do you have a big enough personality to sell your products online, or do you have someone that can make enough noise to sell your products? So
I think that's a great,
you have to ask yourself
point
that.
there. Yeah, exactly. And I think I'll tell you the interesting thing is that the least competitive space is space which is risky, not because of expense, but because of time. That people don't want to put in like the sweat equity to try and see if these work. Like the fear of wasting 3 months creating social content, with the potential that it doesn't work, pushes so many people away from it, so they don't even start. I think that's a great opportunity for brands, that if you're willing to take the time risk that it may not work, you're already ahead of the others because so many guys aren't willing to try to
Yeah.
throw the dice at that.
And then what's fantastic about organic as well is like once you are testing and you are putting in a lot of time and energy into it, you're going to see a lot of results in data. It might not be results in sales, but you'll see which one reached more people and which one started conversations. And then you can actually take that content and then turn it into your ads for your remarketing campaigns on social. And because the platform already likes it from an organic perspective and it's trending and it's viral and it's taking full advantage of the algorithm on that aspect, they're going to reward you when it comes to paid. You don't have to put a ton of budget behind it, but once it's reached its peak, or once you think it's reached its peak organically, put some paid behind it. You've got nothing to lose. You put so much time and energy into promoting it organically. Why not promote it with a little bit of a paid boost?
100%. And then I think maybe the last one we should chat about, and we won't go deep into it because we spent a lot of time last week, but myself and Seth meet people every day who aren't getting to stage 3 in e-commerce. So first stage is really traffic generation. Second stage is traffic optimization. That's really like conversion optimization, making sure the traffic on the site actually converts. And the third stage is retention. And that's really email forms the most part of retention, that once you have a base, how many guys, Sethela, do we speak to that are not doing anything? I'll say anything substantial on email. Like if they're doing email, maybe they've done an email blast once. But what do you think? What do you
Yeah,
think
or
about that?
one newsletter and then gave up and
Yeah,
then said, "Oh no, email's a dead platform." And it's actually really sad because you're collecting all of this, you're putting all this energy in collecting the traffic, and then you're not
yeah,
servicing them thereafter. It's like I'm putting so much money in acquiring you, but then I don't really care now that you're in. You need to sort yourself out. You need to go and look at your sites in your own time. You need to go do this. It's like it's completely wrong. You should spend less time and energy attracting new clients and rather retaining your current clients. That's the biggest cost, your lifetime value of a client. Rather go after what's the return. Are they going to buy on a month to month basis instead of that
yeah,
one buy? Because that's not worth it in the long run.
yeah. I think our email mantra is email is money for jam. Like if you are not running flows and you're an e-commerce store, you need to just stop listening to this podcast immediately and start running flows, because
Yeah.
it's too important. It's like the lowest hanging fruit. Like it's money waiting to be acquired. You just got to start.
Yeah. And I mean, you can either go down the route of hiring an agency to run these flows for you, but if you are in a tight budget, go and take the time to learn the platform. It's
Yeah,
not that difficult for a basic flow. And especially if you're
yeah,
doing nothing, you're going to see a greater result, and at
yeah,
least you learn something new. And then you can say, okay, this is a worthwhile platform for me. Now let me go and reinvest, go get an agency, go get a professional, a freelancer, someone in to help you there, but go test it out.
yeah, yeah. I think that is as a summary. Like the most powerful asset an e-commerce owner has is their history and their database. And one doesn't have to keep spending money bringing new guys in if you have that. And so few guys use that to the full effect. I think the benchmark to try and aim for that, but except for a store which has an inherently like repeatable purchaser. So like if you're selling contact lenses, that's different. But if you're selling stuff where most of the time it's new purchases, you should still get 15% of your sales every month coming from existing users or existing purchases. And if you're not, there's a massive opportunity to try and go after.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of the InSyte Podcast. I hope you got some valuable insights from this episode, and I hope you know where to really focus your budget now and rather go after bottom of the funnel, go after the right keywords rather than educating your target audience, because let the big guys do it. They've got the budget for it, so why not let them do it? And you can just facilitate the final sale. And after you've facilitated that final sale, please service your clients properly. Re-engage with them, talk to them, get input, get reviews, show them that you care. As a small business owner, you need to engage with your clients so they become return clients and that their lifetime value therefore increases. Otherwise, you're spending way too much money in the beginning to acquire them, and then you'll lose them in the long run. So those are just a few tips. I'll see you next week, because we do this every single Thursday, talking about e-commerce marketing, because we are the e-commerce marketers. Check you next week. Cheers.